You know, Ida, when I was a student in university, I was on government scholarship, so I didn't care much about financial planning. But it was only after I started working and wanted to buy my car that I began to realize how important that I put everything on an Excel spreadsheet. I began calculating how much money I would need every month. So I think for me, financial planning started a bit late. So what do you think?
I think you started off well ahead of a lot of, I would say, the younger generation now, which is a good thing because we tend to take for granted our financial planning. Am I right? And that's something that we can talk about today because we have a guest with us who used to be a journalist and now she is a financial planner, and we will talk about financial planning and how Gen Zs can prepare ahead, because from what we read today, Farid, it can be quite daunting, from everything to saving in our EPF to private retirement schemes. It can be confusing and overwhelming, but it's good that we can talk about it. Before we get to that, here are some of our key stories in the Star today. One of it is the Health Ministry has clarified non-regulation of private healthcare facility fees. That has also been a point of contention in our country. And the other thing is the whole brouhaha about drugs and concerts. There are no plans for compulsory urine tests for concert goers, the Dewan Rakyat heard. And it's Ramadan, so people are happy checking out their Ramadan bazaars, and we will feature some key favorite ones in Star Metro soon. Right, let's introduce our guest, Farid. Would you like to do the honors?
Yes, we have a financial planner with us today. Could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Firstly, welcome, Hazel.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be back here.
Yes, you used to work here.
Yes, yes, technically, but not in this venue.
So, Hazel Ong, you are now a financial/wealth advisor.
Yeah, licensed financial planner.
That's the operative word, licensed.
Yes, licensed.
Yes, because we've heard a lot of, finfluencers.
Yes.
That's also another key trending influencer now, finfluencers, financial influencers. Please tell us something about what you do, Hazel.
Okay, so what or who is a financial planner, right? I think this morning your colleague Farid asked me, so I want to throw the question back to Farid. He can again answer it. So when I say I'm a licensed financial planner, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
My immediate thought was, are you an insurance agent? Yeah.
So I think the majority of Malaysians think that. Okay, even if they don't say it, but they think it. Okay, because so many years in Malaysia, we have agents. Okay, whether they are insurance agents or unit trust investment agents or agents doing wills and trusts and all that. So they are agents doing their respective areas, which are also pillars of financial planning, but they don't come together. All right, or if a person does it, the person has got individual licenses but not a financial planner. Now the difference is, a financial planner, we don't look at what the product is for the client. All right, we first want to diagnose the client's financial health. So it's like doing a health check, but a financial health check.
It's interesting.
Yes. So when we meet with a client, we will go through the different things like their cash flow, their asset and liabilities, and then we will ask them their goals and what they want in the future. So at the end of that diagnosis, they will know what they have done well, what they need to improve, what are their blind spots, and what they need to rectify if they are in a bad situation, and if they are in a good situation, how to achieve their goals even faster.
Right. So the key thing that you will educate us on today is Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Because what we've read so far and what we keep reading is that people don't have enough for their retirement. So what can people do is to save early. Am I right? I mean, it's more complicated than that, right? And maybe you can tell us some of the challenges that you experience when dealing with your clients.
Okay. Gen Z or
Let's start with
okay.
let's say maybe the middle age, and then we get to the Gen Zs.
Okay, actually, I've been reflecting since you gave me this topic. All of us need the same fundamentals. All right, whether you are a boomer, whether you are a Gen X, which that's my generation, yeah, or whether you're millennial, Farid, or whether, like my daughter, Gen Z, the fundamentals do not change. Just like the law of gravity,
Right.
the law of money is like you must follow the fundamentals. Okay, if this is this much you earn, you must live below your means, not within. Kalau within, there's nothing else to save and invest for the future. Alright, so below. So these laws of money, I would say, regardless of generation, we have to follow them. And a lot of people, right, when they start to earn a better income, the challenge I feel is because they don't sit down and, like Farid shared earlier before we started, have an Excel spreadsheet to track. In their mind, they think, wah, income sudah naik, so I can actually increase my lifestyle without actually calculating first.
Yeah.
So many people will just go ahead and buy, especially so much temptation, right? There's Shopee lah, there is Lazada and
Online shopping,
so
yeah.
many apps, right? And it's just every time ding 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 ding, there's so much of temptation, and people now have buy now pay later.
Right.
So another temptation there, besides credit cards. So
Smartphones.
yes, so they get trapped so easily, and before you know it, instead of living below your means, is within already, or even worse, above. And this above problem is where we get the deficit cash flow leading to debt problems, hutang banyak, and then some take long punya hutang. So that is the craziness, personal loan and all that. So the sakit that I always encounter, the penyakit, is to make sure that people are aware that they have a problem, first of all, and to quickly remedy it. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's get to it. How does the Gen Z's financial situation compare to, let's say, the previous generation in terms of income, cost of living, and stability? Because you also mentioned if the income is small, it's more important to plan.
Very important.
Is this what you tell your daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
So she kind of mommy is going to say that already. So she said, okay. All right. So, in terms of, let me just see, in terms of income, Gen Z, I think the oldest would be around 28 this year. So they are entering a job market where the seniors would be maybe your Generation X people or your millennials. So of course they would be at the entry level kind of income, right? Already that would make them have to plan much better, because if they simply use and they start using credit card, then they will end up in the hutang punya category, which we don't want. Yeah. And cost of living is so expensive. You can you don't even have to calculate inflation. I think if you think back 10 years, how much was food that you buy, or drinks that you buy. So these are very real things. And although we say that the income could have increased, but it doesn't commensurate with the increase in inflation. Yeah, so that's why they are at a disadvantage in that sense. And financial stability, if they do not plan, then how to be stable? So they have to plan. Very important.
Hazel, what are some challenges that are faced by Gen Z today? You mentioned inflation. How about student debt, affordable housing? Because I'm thinking that there may be some challenges that Gen Z today face that the older generations probably did not face. Is that true, or do you think that's not
Actually,
the case?
if you ask me from my own personal experience, it's not that far away. Because when we were younger, say for example, I look back, I was reflecting last night. Although the houses were not as expensive, but the income also was
Not
smaller.
as- yeah.
So
as
it
high.
kind of balanced back. Yeah. So if you really want to say, "Oh, today, everything's so expensive and all that," but it was about the same. Okay, and if there's time, I will share. Last time, my first paycheck was only a few hundred ringgit. You know, yeah, a few hundred ringgit, and yet we managed. You know, I can even help support my families because I came from the 1980s recession. So at that point in time, we were having a crisis as well, and I feel that every crisis, right, presents an opportunity, because when there is a crisis, Gen Z ke, Gen X ke, whatever, we will have to learn to adjust, and we will have to learn how to manage with what we have. So I think sometimes crisis is also good in hindsight. Yeah. So when you say, is it very challenging for them? Yes, it's challenging, but they can overcome it. They can with proper planning. Yeah.
Is there a misconception among the younger people who think that financial planning is only for people who have a lot of money or high incomes?
To me, I think it's a myth now lah. Because the more we put this thought in our mind, oh, financial planning is only for the high income earners, then we won't seek someone to help us plan our finances. Or we won't seek resources to plan because only people with money only plan. Actually, people with less money, even more important. Imagine you have to stretch your ringgit even more, right? So if you do not sit down and really plan it out, you're going to be off target a lot. Yeah, and that time is too late lah. So hopefully today, our podcast, we can help people to take time, sit down and plan.
Hazel, there are jobs today that did not exist back then. And some Gen Z, even millennials, are employed in these jobs like gig. I mean, they are employed in gig economy, freelancing. So how does that factor into their financial planning? How does that change their financial planning?
Okay, very good question. I have been thinking a lot about this because my daughter is Gen Z and she is going to enter into a career soon, yeah, because she is at the tail end of her high school. So being in a gig economy is even more important.
Because there's no forced savings.
Yes, there is no EPF. If you were to work for a company, they would at least give you an EPF, a minimum wage. Whereas if you work on your own, a gig economy, if you are not so hardworking or disciplined, you may not get enough to survive also. Alright? And without the EPF forced saving, are our Gen Z disciplined enough to put aside money every
build a
month?
nest egg,
Yeah, to plan for their retirement. Okay, that is one. If you join a company, they might give you free insurance. Okay, but if you work on your own,
You have to
anything,
fork out your own.
if anything happen and you think, insurance maybe for older people. No, insurance, the younger you are, the better.
Correct.
Okay, because you pay less premium for a bigger coverage. And you need that as early as possible if you're a gig economy person, because no one is going to pay for your expensive medical bills, which you just
Correct.
mentioned earlier.
And insurance is another topic, big topic.
Yes.
Just to chime in, if I remember correctly, I think a few years ago, Perkeso did introduce a program where gig workers can sign up for some kind of protection or coverage, but I can't remember. I need to go back and look at it.
And there are also
the option is
general insurance companies that are offering much cheaper medical
Affordable.
cards. Affordable.
But still, you have to pay for it yourself.
Correct.
Yes.
It's not free, but that's another
Yes.
topic as well. And it is a topic that you cover you sort of take care of in your
Planning?
service. Correct.
Yeah. Because if there's no planning there, it will come back and bite someone.
Yeah.
If they are only focused on savings alone and they don't protect themselves from disaster or crisis, it will come back. Yeah. So that's why very important.
Let's talk about financial literacy. It is often overlooked, wouldn't you say?
Yes, very much.
So how can the Gen Z educate themselves about this? Like you mentioned before, there are pros and cons to the finfluencers we see now on social media, right? And some of the general advice doesn't really work. Would you say?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So your question was, is it overlooked financial literacy.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, I ask you, did you learn money in school?
No, unfortunately.
None, right? Even very highly qualified people on scholarship, or even myself when I was studying my tertiary, nobody taught us about managing our money.
We learned the basics of economics and perdagangan in school.
But that is like doing business.
Correct.
But how
We
about
didn't learn
our
about
own
money
cash
management.
flow,
No.
our own asset liability? Nobody talks about that. Yeah. Even I meet some accountants, they said, "Oh, Hazel, I'm only good at managing my company's finances. My own one, I don't even have time to look at it." So, personal finance is really overlooked, and the literacy level is considered low, but it's improving. Okay, thanks to technology, thanks to social media, and as you pointed out, suddenly, right, mushroom here, mushroom there, a lot of finfluencer.
Yeah.
Okay, whether they are really qualified to give advice, that is another thing that people must be cautious lah, because sometimes influencers or financial influencers, finfluencers, they may be getting a gig economy thing. They are paid to promote something, and sometimes it could be a service, a financial service, or a training program that they are doing. So we want to find out for sure what is their motive. Are they giving solid kind of advice? Because be careful. Okay, and general advice is general lah. If I have a life situation that is very unique, or I know that I do savings a certain way, or I have to take care of my family, I have all kinds of different commitment in my life, a general advice does not apply to me. Unless this finfluencer come and sit down with me, and then I share what is actually happening in my life, can I take that advice for real? Okay, so specific advice would be what a licensed financial planner would give, and that would be a better advice than if you were to listen just for free advice from finfluencers. But of course, having said that, there are good and renowned finfluencers, so we just have to do our due diligence. If you're Gen Z, please, not the first thing you hear is the truth. Always check it out. All right.
But these renowned finfluencers, do you know if they are licensed? So how does the license part come
Very
into,
good question.
Carry its weight here, being licensed?
Okay, you can go to Securities Commission, and you just type you search for the website. You can actually check if the person who you are seeking advice from is a licensed planner. All right, you key in their name, and then you will see their number. Okay, because that is very important. Just like if you go to a doctor, how do you know a person is a doctor or a quack, or it's
That's
because
right.
of their certification, right? Yeah.
And that's also another topic.
Okay.
Motivational speakers.
Hazel, social media have a massive influence on people's spending behavior. So, for example, when I see photos of my friends traveling, when I see them posting with their, Louis Vuitton handbags, I might want to do the same thing. So that might change the way I spend, because I feel I don't want to have this fear of missing out. So, how much influence does social media have on people's or Gen Z's spending habit, do you think?
I think a lot. I had this conversation, especially after you invited me with my daughter. My daughter is not at the age where she's buying Louis Vuitton, but she's at the age where she's looking at her friends having Stanley bottles. I don't even know what is that. Okay, this old
fancy,
So
flasks.
so there's mothers like, what, Stanley bottle? Is it? Yeah, my friend got this, and then there's the La Boo Boo, and
Dolls.
all that.
What's that?
La Boo Boo.
Those dolls, the I feel these dolls look like the monkeys.
yeah.
It doesn't
Okay.
look pleasant to me. It looks
But you
scary,
see,
but
social media
Okay.
has influenced her that
keeping up with
everyone
the
has
Joneses.
it. Maybe I should consider it. But the good thing is she know La Boo Boo is not her thing. But there are other things, that she's influenced. And then she will come lah. The good thing is she hasn't earned her own income yet. So still have to come and consult. So I said, okay, you cannot have this because it's not going to help you in any way.
And it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Those fancy flasks that you
So
mentioned.
imagine if she start earning, and there is no filter, no mommy or whoever to filter it. Imagine what is the first thing buy lah. After you buy, at the end of the month, sudah merah, red already, right? Deficit. So yes, it is a very dangerous world we live in, because the algorithms, the moment you search something, right, all your feed will be filled with all the things you desire.
Yeah. It's just giving you that instant gratification, that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Before we get to budgeting and saving, maybe you can share with us, Hazel, what are the top 3 red flags when you get your clients coming to you for financial advice? Top 3 red flags that we need to know in terms of financial planning.
What do you mean red flags? Maybe you can elaborate.
Meaning, you mentioned that you see people who are in the red but don't know it.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
I get this quite often. They will tell me, Hazel, I feel I have a money issue. I feel like I'm spending more than I earn, but I don't know. I just a feeling only, because they didn't sit down and do Excel, right? Okay, so that is one of the red flags. I can guess it's either they are just like living within their means to the scraping point, or they are actually deficit. And why people don't realize they have a deficit is because they do have like a savings account or some buffer which they have collected or accumulated. So when there is a deficit, it comes from there to save them. So they know they have a problem, but they don't know exactly how much. Yeah. So when there's no clarity, it's like you're living in a blur world. So clarity is power. And the only way to get clarity is to do that financial health check I told you about. Sit down and find out your cash flow, find out your assets and liabilities, and then you will know your position, where you are now.
Hazel, what are some steps that Gen Z can take? Say, someone like your daughter, maybe in a few years, they will start working. So what are some steps they can take to make sure that they don't end up in the red?
Okay, good thing you say. First, they must get financial literacy. Okay, I can't stress how important that is, and that's why I think there are some agencies now, I know, because my friend's daughter is actually involved in that, where they go to education institutions and they're trying to bring financial literacy into it. So if you are a Gen Z and you hear of these kind of programs, like real renowned programs, do sign up for something like that. Yeah, workshops and all that. Prepare yourself to know where you are now financially, or if you have not entered the job market, that's the best time, because you haven't made any mistakes yet. Start to plan. Okay, do the budgeting, which we will be talking about. And then the great thing about Gen Z, I would say, I read about Gen Z a lot these days. I was told, I don't know how far it's true, that you all are more environment conscious and things like that. So that is a plus point, I find. Because if you are that kind of person, then some of the habits of environmental friendly people help to save money. One, take public transport instead of buying a car so fast, right?
And contributing to carbon footprint.
Yes,
okay.
And you save. Like, I am not a Gen Z, but I believe in that. So like, I come here today by public transport. We spend really little a month, and there's no car maintenance, no road tax, insurance, and all that. Okay, save a lot. So if they are very environment conscious, they can do that. Also, if they really love the environment, they would use less aircon, right? And the electricity bill will also come down.
Oh, in this heat, that's quite challenging.
But there are ways. Going to go camping in the nature where it's cooling and all that. So you actually save. Okay, I advocate that because I love going to nature, and also they are more open to thrift stores, or buying pre-loved things.
Items, yeah.
This is pre-loved.
Yeah,
pre-loved
those bundle shops.
is okay now. It's even trendy, you know, to be pre-loved and all that. So if they can get into that kind of thinking young now, they really can save a lot. And must only have Louis Vuitton, must only wear branded and all that. And they want branded. Pre-loved branded is affordable, right? So
Yeah, there are some good shops out there.
yeah, so these are the things that before they go out, we have to let them know if they have no idea yet. I think they are quite good at that. My daughter knows how to do the thrifting thing.
I think it's good that you mentioned that about how prepare before you go out on your own, move out on your own, get your own car, apartment to rent or whatever. Because I think now we tend to, the Gen Zs tend to take things for granted because, well, a lot of them are still living at home with the folks. So folks are paying for the food, room and
Yes.
board, electricity, everything. So that push to kind of take things to task on their own, plan and do all that Excel spreadsheet and whatever, doesn't really jolt them on the forehead because they're still living under the parents' roof.
Okay, so it's a very true thing what you mentioned, but I must say that, remember I said every crisis there's an opportunity. I was from the 1980s recession, so I learned budgeting on my own because I had to, right? Now, COVID-19 presented a crisis, global crisis. And if you are a family hit by COVID-19, I think some of the Gen Zs are more grounded. I would say that because even my family, our income was hit because of some commission cuts and all that. So we had to do this budgeting more stringent, we have to have a crisis budget and things like that. And so I feel that my Gen Z benefited because, when push comes to shove, no choice, you have to do it. But families that are still nothing didn't happen and nothing happened to them, maybe they will have Gen Zs that are not so willing to budget lah. That is my take lah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. COVID-19 presented a different level of problems. And yes, while it affected the whole world, there are people who were spared. They didn't suffer too much. And I suppose it presented perhaps a different set of issues in terms of post-COVID, and then you face some difficulties trying to get back into the action, but you didn't prepare ahead of time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
True.
Hazel, when I first started working at about 25, and I wanted to make a loan for my car, that was when I first heard the term credit score. I had no idea what that was.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people know what a
Yes.
credit
Okay.
score.
And and soon after I also applied for a credit card. I start accumulating all these debts. So can you tell us, like, what is a credit score and what's the key to ensuring a good credit score?
Okay, actually, credit score would be your ticket to applying for a loan later in your life or applying for any credit-related thing that you want to do lah. Especially if you want to buy your car lah, you want to buy your house. Yeah, so a credit score is important. Having said that, you had a situation where you didn't have a credit history, is it?
Yeah.
Is that why you asked this question? Okay, you mentioned earlier you were on scholarship.
Yes.
So that's why there was no credit history. Some people, they already take like a loan, PTPTN loan or, a study loan. So that actually helped them to build. Okay, they do not need to get a credit card. In fact, I would tell my client, if possible, not to get so early, or if you must get only one. Okay, don't get the habit of getting many, and then that is where the problem starts.
Why would you need many credit cards anyway?
Some people do.
Oh, yes, they rolled it, okay?
Yeah,
Like
they
this
roll.
month they cannot afford, then they
Yeah.
use that credit card. Okay, I better not say, then I'll give ideas, okay? So those
Well, it will snowball to
Yes.
a dangerous level.
That is the problem. So maybe just delete that part. So anyway, once you have a loan, whether it's a PTPTN loan, you have a credit history, you have to keep it good. So say for example, when people start working and they want to buy a house, they will take a loan lah because it's such an expensive one, right? So yes, you need to make sure that you always have your payment history clean. you don't like wait too long to pay, you clear your debts early, so that will help you continue to have a good credit score. And you must make sure that when you take a loan, they will look at your income, and they will look at can you actually afford. They have a calculation to see that it's only a portion of your income. Yeah, it cannot exceed like 30% or 35%, and so you must never exceed that. So then it will be a better look in your credit score. And also some gig economy people, right, their income fluctuate. They will look at all your income fluctuating and all that. So the bank, when they want to offer you a loan, if you're a business person or a gig economy freelancer, you will need to show more months of your income to show your stability. And if it's fluctuating, they will look at your assets. Do you have assets like your savings? How big is it? To let them consider whether to give you a loan or not. So I hope this have helped you to think how to get it healthy. And not say regularly lah, maybe once a year you can just go and print out your secrets, or even go to now the apps, you can get your report easily. Just have a check before you want to take a loan, like how does my score look like.
Which app is that?
Can I mention the name? So Touch and Go, you can easily buy the CITOS report inside your app, and it's like quite affordable to get the report. And secrets, you don't even have to pay. You can go online and get the report as well.
Sorry, where can you get the secrets report?
You just search. I always just type secrets, and then it will come out the website, and you can just follow in the website where you can get your report. Yeah, it's quite easy nowadays. As I said, tips of our finger, we can get a lot of information. Yeah. So do you still have any issue with your credit score, or no more? I think
So far, I've never had any problem repaying my loans. I've taken on another loan for a property recently. So thank God everything is going well for me. But yeah, I mean, this information would have helped me back then,
I think for yourself moving forward, also just continue to keep your score beautiful by paying on time, and make sure that it's not too much from your income, the portion that you're paying for your debts. So keep it as low as possible.
You mentioned earlier, Hazel, about the ice jar and how we can learn to set aside for savings, investments, and emergency funds. Tell us about that.
Okay, this ice jar is the world's simplest money management system. Okay, and I want to give credit to my friend, my colleague, Kaho. He is the one who came up with this acronym. He made it easy for people to remember, because sometimes you said the 1/3 rule or the 33% rule, all these rules, right? You can't remember. But I like the ice jar just to give you a concept. When you are financially stressed, do you feel like sweating lah, cannot sleep lah, like very hot, right? So the ice jar is your antidote to cool you down, right? It gives you balance in your life. Okay, so it's actually the 1/3 rule. Now, can you picture the Mercedes sign, the symbol? Okay, so it's like if you have a circle, 1/3 would look like the Mercedes sign. Okay, now why I want you to picture that, because Mercedes used to be, I don't know whether it's still a car people look forward to buy. So it's like your future goal. So if you want a peaceful or balanced financial life, you want to achieve that symbol. Yeah. The other thing is, if I put I, which stands for investment, under the bottom 1/3, yeah, then it will look like a peace sign. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you finally achieve this balance, you will have inner peace and you can sleep very well. Now, good or not?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So now I just want you to picture, if you are earning 9,000, what is the 1/3 for each category? So I is your investment and saving. So if it's 9,000, then it's what, 3,000? Okay. Then your commitment would be another 3,000, and your expenses would be another 3,000. So it's ICE. So investment, savings, and all that is one, and then you have your commitment, and then you have your expenses. All right. So if you want balance, you must make sure that it's wanted. So it's very simple, not so complicated, all kinds of formulas. So if you can calculate where you are today, just go back and calculate, you will find whether you are overcommitted. Commitment would be like all your loans, yeah, very difficult to come out one. Means you have to pay long term, all right? So your loans, maybe you have some people you support financially, you support them. So these are your commitment. And then the expenses are all the things that you spend on a daily basis, which you can easily cut now. All right. And then your savings and investment would also include things like actually your insurance plans, you know. So you can put it inside there. All right. So it helps you to budget and keep your cash flow healthy.
No, we talk about investing. Is there an age where it's still too early to invest? Or should they start investing in their 20s perhaps?
Okay, very good. Actually, this investing thing, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is today. Okay, why? Because time, a lot of people forget, it's not the amount of money that you use. It's actually the time you have. The more time you have, there is this magic that Albert Einstein said is the eighth wonder of the world. And that is the magic of compounding effect. Compounding effect, have you heard of this rule of 72?
Heard of it, yes.
Okay, do you know what is it?
Maybe you can explain.
Okay. Alright. Rule of 72 will help us actually know how fast or slow our money double. So say for example, I just put 1,000 in a bank. It will take how fast and how? Depending on the rate of return. Okay, so you take 72 divided by 8. What do you get?
9?
Yeah, see? Okay,
I
so
wanted to hear the engineer say.
yes, thank God we have an engineer. So 9 years for money to double if your portfolio is giving you a 8% return. Okay, when you divide, don't put the percentage anymore, just use the number only. Okay, likewise, this rule of 72 will also help you see how inflation can shrink your purchasing power, yeah? So the same thing, if inflation is 8%, for example, then it will be 9 years for your purchasing power to shrink by half. So it's both ways. You can use this formula. So by using this, people can see how important it is for them to invest in a vehicle that is at least hedging against inflation. Because if not, right, by the time you are older, when you reach your retirement, you may think your 100,000 is worth a lot, but actually
It won't.
Yeah. So this one will help you. And when you start early, the compounding is very powerful. Yeah. The compounding will be you use less money to save for your future goal than if you start 10 years later. So time is a very important factor. And this is the beautiful part. Gen Z, the thing is they have the most time compared to the boomers, the Gen X and the millennials. They are very young now. So they have at least like 30 years before retirement. So that's their added advantage. So if you're listening, Gen Zs, this is your superpower, time.
And I mean, the term retirement also can be pushed now, because when a lot of people come to retirement age, they don't really retire. They're still doing something or getting a part-time job or something like that. Yeah, just to continue while they can.
I think if we don't do that, our brain matter will wither away also.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So we actually, when we say retirement now, is choosing maybe something that we really like. Maybe when we were younger, for the sake of money and income to sustain, we have to do a job we don't really like. But when we retire, with hopefully our nest egg in order, we can go for our passion career, and do something we really love, that will still keep us alert and happy and live a good life. Or purpose-driven life, I would say.
How should the Gen Zs balance short-term wants in like travel, lifestyle, with long-term financial security?
Okay, so again, back to the model I gave, the ice jar, right? They can use that for their budgeting. But if they are going to do like short term, okay, so they know that short term, what does short term mean to many Malaysians? Short term to many Malaysians is like 1 hour, 1 day. But actually, short term is longer than that. Short term is like 1 year, 2 years, 2 years. Short term. Medium.
Can it be 6 months?
That is like
It's too
super
short. Super
short
short.
term.
Okay.
So if you are doing that kind of planning, it must be in a very safe vehicle if you're saving for that lah. So they must understand if they are planning to go for a trip in a very short term, they have to use vehicles that are very safe, cannot have a fluctuation in market cycles and things like that. So then they should save their money in that vehicle for their short term trip. Alright, maybe in 6 months they want to go, I don't know, some Asian country, or in a 2 years time they want to go for a Europe travel. So those kind of savings, they must know that they cannot take too much risk for fluctuation. Okay, but if they are planning to buy a house in 5 years time and they need a good down payment and some excess, then they can actually save their money in vehicles that have a little bit of fluctuation. That's where money grows, yeah. And they can take a little bit more risk. Again, I have to look at their risk profile. If they are the type cannot still have to go for safe vehicles. Alright, so they have to know what are their different jars. So the short-term jar, they have to put these funds in this vehicle, and then the longer term in another jar for this vehicle, so that it doesn't like overlap and they don't know where their money is. They must know where exactly the money is going for, what goal or what dream. Yeah, so that is a way that we help our clients to think and plan.
Hazel, how can young people or Gen Z plan for making some of their early ticket purchase? For example, like they want to buy a car, say it's Myvi, or they want to buy a property, say around KL, it's probably around 400,000 now, and or maybe they want to further their studies, they want to do a master, which private universities that probably cost you 80,000 at least. So all these quite big purchases, which a lot of young people make, how can they plan for that?
Actually, it's very much like my answer earlier. They have to first know these are what they want. So they have to write, they write it down, their priorities. And is it really a non-negotiable? Because so many things are occupying our life, right? We are hit with so many things. And if that is a non-negotiable for them, they have to make sure that the other temptations do not interfere. Yeah. And after that, they have to make sure that they put aside that money to grow in that time, to accumulate, so that they can put a good down payment for the house or the car or the education. As you mentioned, the other thing about education is can get scholarship also. So that is one way. If they really want to reduce spending for education, if they really want it and they are so good in that field, they can apply for a scholarship that helps as well. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. It's all about putting it down actually. A lot of people, they want to do many things, but they don't really put it down and they don't take the first step, which is to start.
Yeah, starting is the hardest part. I mean, we talked about financial shocks, economic recessions, pandemic. How can we prepare for it?
Okay, very good. I have gone through many. I've gone through the 1980s recession. I've gone through 1997 Asian financial crisis, the 2000 bubble, the subprime. So there's the constant and guaranteed thing is crisis will come, and COVID also. So what do we learn from all this? So I'm sharing this because Gen Z, maybe the only crisis you can remember is COVID-19. But take it from an older person, crisis will come again and again. So the best way to prevent any shocks is first have your foundation, which is your emergency fund. The emergency fund is for salaried people, 6 months of your expenses every month. For gig economy people, at least 12 months, I would say. At least 1 year for you to like find your footing, find yourself, and hopefully, stand back up on your feet. So emergency fund is very good. There's one thing. In good times, which is around now, start to have a crisis budget. This is something I learned just before COVID, because I went for a course myself. And that thing stuck to me. We were all like, you want to do this project. So we had to come up with a crisis budget. So now my life is like that. Very nice. Everything I can enjoy. But crisis budget just next to it. What am I going to strip off if a crisis comes? So some of the things are no longer going to be there.
So a crisis budget is your variables.
Crisis budgets are your variables, means things that you don't really need, okay? All your happy gym, all the things that you will know for yourself, what are those, okay? And you strip it down to the bare essentials. And even after you strip it down, you look at the essentials. Can I still cut my phone plan? Maybe now there's a better plan. Because a lot of people, right, they have their phone plan, but some phone plans are getting better, but they didn't take the time to look at it. Mm-hmm. So by doing that in your cable, is there a better offer now and things like that. So you have to really go through your list and see what is the bare minimum you can cut, and just have that crisis budget kept somewhere. Because when the crisis came, which it did for our family, COVID-19, I just took it out. I already have a blueprint to fall back on. But the thing that don't cut would be your insurance. Because when a crisis hit, right, and you don't have enough income and you need to be hospitalized, then it's worse. Of course, you say, I can go to the government hospital. Yes. So you see how badly you are hit. You have a priority what to cut first and all.
We can't often rely on the public health sector because it's already
at this
so
brim, right?
out.
You're stretched to the max already.
Yeah.
I believe I can offer some perspective on this. 7 years ago, I think before I got this job, I had experienced a job loss. I was retrenched in 24 hours. So at the time, I was panicking because I had some financial commitments. So the first thing I did on the first day itself was I went to cancel my gym subscription. I also went to change my mobile plan. I got the cheapest one I could find, and I took out some savings. But I realized that even though I had savings, how quickly money ran out when you don't have new income streams coming in. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. But yeah, like you said, cut down whatever you don't need. Cut the fat.
Yeah, so prepare a crisis budget not during the crisis. Now. I mean, when you are not having to be so scared, right? Because when you enter into crisis, right, sometimes your brain cannot function. You go into self-pity, or you go into I cannot think. And when you have it, you just pull it out and say, okay, maybe you just adjust a little bit, but it's already prepared. And prepared when you can think clearly. Yeah, so this is, I thought, one of the greatest lesson that I had myself and my family, which I'm very grateful for. So this thing, I feel, besides the emergency fund, is important. Preparing a crisis budget.
Hazel, do you have any advice for people who are struggling with low incomes or low salaries, or maybe they don't have a stable income? So, maybe for them financial planning is a bit difficult because they don't have much space to work with. Do you have any advice for that?
Okay, if what you're trying to say is they are already so tight, right? How to hire a financial planner and things like that.
Or how to even have the ICE rule that you just mentioned.
Okay. Anybody, right, if you're tight, because I've gone through, in the 80s, I've gone through days that sometimes I don't know whether I have money to eat. I've gone through that. So I understand totally where that comes from. But having said that, the mindset is very important. At that point, the questions we ask ourselves determine the quality of our life. Okay, why I say this is, if you are hit like that, right, you can ask yourself, why me? Which is a very kasihan kind of thing, and then you can't find any solution. But the question I used to ask myself, because I was 17 at that time, just after SPM, was how can I improve my family's finances? That was the question I asked myself. And I started our mind is very powerful. You will start to see things, and you will start to see opportunities like, okay, maybe if I do this kind of work, I can get this kind of income because I have a strength doing this, and then you will be able to find it. I don't know how to explain it, because when you are trying to look at red things, suddenly your eye can see all the red in the room, right? Or if you suddenly want to look for blue, you will see all the blue. Same thing. If you ask yourself, how can I improve? What can I do? Because I cannot answer for every Gen Z in this world. They have their unique capabilities, their strength that they can work on and get that income. So some Gen Zs, if they look inside, they become influencers. That's how they earn more, right? Or they start to sell things and all that. So that is the question. It's not just about numbers. It's about taking care of your mind. I say that because I've been through it. So when you start to ask yourself, how can I make it better? Then you will find it. Like for me, even this last COVID crisis, actually that was what prompted me to take up my licensed financial planning certification, because I find that I wanted to upskill. Okay, so you will say, oh, no money to. If you are looking, don't put the word no. Put the word how can I find it. So you will be able to either get someone to sponsor you, or get a scholarship, or talk to your whoever who can sponsor you to upskill, maybe. Alright, or start to find people who can connect you with the right opportunity. Yeah, because whatever it is, if you're tight, you need more income. You need more income. If you already cut to the max and you still cannot have, right? You need more income, more inflow. Yeah. So, yes, don't give up. If there's one thing I want to share with Gen Z is always have hope in your mind, and you will pull through. Yeah.
Because there are opportunities,
There
whether
are.
we choose to see it or not.
Yes. So put that what you want and what is it that you're good at, and then you will start to see the opportunity. So the question you ask yourself is, how can I improve, instead of why me, which most people do. I think, to be fair, as humans, we can have a why me for a while, but not too long.
Then get back to work.
Yes, get back to how can I improve.
Yeah. So it's also more of what gaps can I fill? How will this help me, and who am I helping? So you're creating opportunities for yourself and for other people as well.
Very true. Very true.
I think we've come to the end of our.
Okay.
But you've given us a lot to think
thank
about.
you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah,
If
okay.
you could just give 3 takeaways, 3 key pieces of financial advice, not even for Gen Zs, but just to
Everybody, right?
Yes.
Because as I said, it's a fundamental thing. Okay, so these 3 things. First, find a way to be financial literate. Means get yourself financially educated. Yeah, there's so many resources. There are many books online. You can even speak to person or non-person. The AI is very clever these
Or,
days.
read the stuff.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay. Second is, I feel that habits determine who we are, right?
Yeah.
If we know the knowledge, but we don't do the actions, and it's the habit, that means the daily action that lead to the big thing. We say, oh, I know I have to live below my means, but our actions or our habits is the other way around. Then it will still come back to zero, right? Or negative. So habits, you need the good and healthy habits to lead us to the goal that we want. Yeah, so the habits is very important. So if we can change our life to have healthy financial habits, slowly start at least the first step, inculcate it as young as possible. As young as possible is easier because less karat, right? If you have like 50 years already of karat, then you want to change. Can still be done, can, but Gen Z, you have that time lah. You're not so old yet, so less karat to take. Okay, the last one I think is for Gen Z lah. Your superpower is time. So don't let it slip away from you. Okay, as I calculated, you have at least 28 to 32 years of planning towards your wonderful retirement or any goal that you want in the long term. So use this time wisely. Okay, don't let it slip away. You can never buy it back, no
Yeah.
matter how much money you have. Yeah.
And leveraging on what we all have at the moment is technology.
Yes. Yeah, the other T. So you have time and you have technology. So you
Everything
are,
at the fingertips.
yeah, you're in a good generation.
Any parting thoughts, Farid?
Well, now you've given me second thoughts about, splurging at Ramadan Bazaar this evening.
Supposed to do the opposite of not splurging.
So that one, everyone will have to look at their own planning, and then you will know. Sometimes I just have to show, and then people will say, "Oh, I need to cut here, cut there." Nobody will be the best except yourself, right? You will know yourself.
Thank you, Hazel. This has been very insightful. Hopefully, I think we can improve our financial habits.
Yeah,
We
not just
all-
Gen Z.
Yeah, all of
We
us.
all-
All of us can learn from this.
Thank you, everyone, for watching Life in the City podcast. You can view our next episode on Star TV and YouTube at Star Online or www.star.com.my/metro.